Hello, my name is Roger Creole, and you are listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. Hello there, and welcome back to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with me, your host, Roger Creole, and thank you for joining me. We're going back almost 40 years to the spring of 1982, and we're off to see Kid Creole and the Coconuts. This was a strange, surreal time in Sheffield. The glamorous sophistication of this big band from New York City juxtaposed against the grim reality of the Falklands conflict, which was being fought 8,000 miles away in the South Atlantic. These events, far, far away, suddenly touched the people of Sheffield in a profound and shocking manner. Life during wartime then. Kid Creole and the Coconuts at Sheffield Poly on Sunday the 16th of May 1982. Here we go. Keith Totley is a decent man. My line manager at the National Coal Board offices on Queen Street, he's a couple of years older than me. A Wednesdayite from Wombwell. Plain speaking and stolid, he's proper Yorkshire. Of all those ships, Roger, he says to me, uncomprehending, on Wednesday morning, why did they have to hit the Sheffield? The mood at work is sombre. The phones, normally ringing out with unemployed shipbuilders from the northeast, wondering when their redundancy monies will be paid, have gone quiet. Sheffield folk are proud of their city and, by extension, the warship that carries the name. I've had pints at the Shiny Chef pub up at Lodge Moor. This is the second vessel to be christened HMS Sheffield, and both had fittings and components made here in the city. The first Sheffield served with distinction in the Second World War. Her namesake is the first Royal Navy ship to be lost since 1945. 20 sailors killed, just a couple of days after the sinking of the General Belgrano, with the loss of over 300 lives. Until now, this remote conflict, 8,000 miles from Sheffield, had felt like a long-distance board game. Risk or Battleship, take your pick. Suddenly, it feels very real and close to home. The mood at work and, it seems, the country is changing. Rally round the flag. Now would not be a good time for me to say, at work, that I believe in the gospel according to Edwin Starr. I'm a pacifist. Say patriot to me and I'll think of a missile defence system. The only jingo I can relate to is a song by Santana. Music. It always comes back to music for me. Walking around Southey Green, listening to Grandmaster Flash on my Walkman. A Steel City Walter Mitty with a New York soundtrack. The same tape includes another NYC group, Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Under the influence of the Enemy and local tastemakers Disco John and Martin Fry, I've invested heavily in the whole ultra-hip Z Records mutant disco sound. I bought the compilation album of the same name last year, plus albums from Was Not Was, Lydia Lunch and the second Kid Creole album. I picked up Coty Mundy's Me No Popeye on 12-inch import from Rough Trade in 1980. Cut Me and I Bleed, Checker Cab Yellow. Kid Creole and the Coconuts arrive in Sheffield on the second night of an 11-date UK tour. Leeds last night, London tomorrow. They have a brand new album in the shops, the cover of The Enemy, and a weight of expectation from the record companies and music media that would buckle the Williamsburg Bridge. They need a hit. Originally slated as a Kid Creole solo album, Tropical Gangsters is more pop than the sophisticated Latino Caribbean hustle of their first two vinyl outings. A little less Tito Puente, a lot more Top of the Pops. It's almost a year since I was last at the Poly for a gig. A flat evening attending Richard Stranger's Cabaret Futura multimedia happening, supported by the cloying Eddie and Sunshine. It's much busier this evening, but there are some of the same themes. Escapism, playing dress-up and aspirations to decadent sophistication, presented tonight on a Cecil B. DeMille budget. Get your glad rags on, Gertrude. This is a soiree. There are 13 people on stage tonight. The last time I saw anywhere near this many musicians playing together live was the Halleck Orchestra at the City Hall in 1979. I've never seen a big band like this in full flight. I might have seen old footage of Count Basie or Cab Calloway on a jazz documentary on telly, but this is altogether more exciting. There's a lot to take in. They have an MC, Bongo Eddie Majiz, in a white sailor suit, who does what I imagine Bobby Bird did for James Brown. He gets the crowd hyped up. Bongo Eddie introduces Coty Monday, a Spanish Harlem Peter Lorre to the kids' Bronx bogey. Then the sexy, all-singing, all-dancing Coconut Girls. And finally the main man himself, Kid Creole, or Thomas August Darnell Browder at the New York DMV. Formerly of Dr. Buzzard's original Savannah band, and then Machine, they of the immortal There But For The Grace of God Go I, the Kid/August is 31 years old. If this is his last chance saloon, we're all invited to what turns out to be a heck of a party. Good evening, Sheffield. New York City calling long distance. These are astounding players. A 3-man horn section. Who knew that a trombone could sound so fruity? Plus a relentless rhythm guitarist, a Rocket 88 piano player, a Tear the Roof Off the Sucker drummer, and, in Carol Coleman, a funky fulcrum on bass guitar. Coty Monday shows he is more than the Kids' comedy foil when he deftly doubles up on vibes and flute. American musicians are generally considered to be better technically than their UK counterparts. I have this baseball battered into me over the course of the next 2 hours. The musicians seated behind Cotton Club style bandstands are all dressed as jungle explorers in pith helmets. The dress code is appropriate because this is going to be an adventure. The 3 Coconuts, led and humorously choreographed by Darnell's wife Andrea, are dressed like they just stepped off the Pan Am Clipper from Rio. The trio provide a chic chorus to the kids' brags and Coty Monday's grifting. I'm out with my girlfriend Ava tonight. She, in common with many other young, club-going women in Sheffield, is still coming to terms with the fact that two of her contemporaries, plucked from the dance floor at the Crazy Daisy by Phil Oakey, have just had the UK Christmas #1 with Don't You Want Me. If she can't be in the Human League, Ava has enough in common with the girls on stage, blonde, leggy zygonauts all, to fancy her chances as a coconut. The setlist draws heavily on the second album, which explored Latin music's many streams and tributaries. Salsa, bachata, merengue. Much of the subtlety of the recordings is sacrificed tonight for an Amazonian deluge of four-on-the-floor big beat. This suits the Sheffield crowd, out to strike a pose at the Poly or for a bit of a bop on a Sunday night, most of whom think that merengue is something you put on lemon pie. They play new single I'm a Wonderful Thing Baby, currently hanging by a could go either way thread at 75 in the singles chart, and another catchy new tune called Stool Pigeon. The show has everything: solo spots, costume changes, theatrical set pieces, audience call and response. There's talk in the music press about American impresario Joseph Papp producing a musical based on these characters and songs, and I can imagine it working. However, all the theatrics would be empty if every gesture, from the catwalk shimmy shimmy of the Coconuts to the Marx Brothers inspired capering of The Kid and Coty Mundy, wasn't underpinned by the magnificent, abundantly talented, turn-on-a-dime team of musicians laying down the groove behind them. Good timing is such a crucial part in the success of any band. Dressing Up is back in style in the spring of 1982, thanks to the New Romantics. Their colourful, escapist allure is a gilded contrast to the grim news of conflict in faraway places and strikes at home. Kid Creole and the Coconuts, with their immaculate American pedigree, are in the right place to lead the glamorous, exotic Latin adjunct to this scene, which also includes Funkapolitan, Blue Rondo a la Turk, and Weekend. Building on the success of this first UK tour, the record company promo team and sales force do their thing. I'm a Wonderful Thing Baby climbs into the UK top 10 by the middle of June. And coincidentally, around the same time, and at the other end of the world, the British Task Force do their thing, and the Argentine forces on the Falklands surrender. 255 British servicemen and 746 of their Argentine adversaries were killed in action. Back at work, the phones are ringing again. More men from the Clyde, Solent, Tyne and Wear seeking reassurance about their redundancy payments. By the end of the year, British shipbuilders will have closed half of its merchant shipbuilding capacity. Sheffield, and indeed the rest of the UK, fell heavily for Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Follow-up singles Stool Pigeon and Annie, I'm Not Your Daddy followed I'm a Wonderful Thing Baby into the top 10 of the singles chart. The Tropical Gangsters album peaked at number 3 on the UK chart in August 1982. Quick to make margaritas while the sun was shining, the band returned to Sheffield 3 more times in 1982. Once in October, plus back-to-back Christmas shows, all at the Lyceum Theatre. At one of the Lyceum gigs, August Darnell met and eventually married Works Up lass Karen Smallwood. They lived together in the Sheffield suburb of Dinnington in the 90s. As cultural dislocation goes, that's up there with Lee Scratch Perry living in a Swiss ski resort for me. You have been listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with me, Roger Quayle. Thank you to Simon Elliott Kemp for the intro and outro music, to Rena for the artwork, and to Nigel Floyd. Join me again next time for another episode from My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. This is Roger Quayle saying thank you and bye bye.